Hello, everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome to this presentation of a use case conducted by the World Wildlife Fund marketing team and championed by WWF's manager of digital fundraising. He is a true marketing professional, always testing, 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 to find ways of engaging our donors and providing a unique gift experience with purpose. He is a true talent in the world of online marketing, and he's here to share his expertise with you all today. Please give a warm welcome to the king of symbolic adoptions, Mr. Nick Minnick.
Lucas, you are too kind, my friend. Let's be honest here. If Lucas wasn't lending his talents to conservation, I imagine he would be playing Major League Baseball thanks to his athletic prowess, or at minimum, baseball analyst. So we are very grateful to have Lucas helping with fundraising.
You are too kind, Nick. The truth is I cannot hit a curveball to save my life. Well, thanks, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here presenting to you all, representing the World Wildlife Fund. Nick, why don't we start with a little background about our organization? That's us. Nick?
So we represent World Wildlife Fund, or WWF. You may recognize us from our iconic panda logo. It was inspired by a panda living in the London Zoo in the 1960s. WWF is the most recognized environmental nonprofit in the world, according to brand surveys each year. We are founded by a group of concerned scientists and conservationists who were very upset about the growing impact of humans on wildlife. At first, our mission was very singular, to focus on the world's iconic species. Today, that portfolio has expanded into 6 key areas: forests, fresh water, oceans, wildlife conservation, climate, and food, and how they are all deeply interconnected. We work all over the world. We work in nearly 100 countries. Each WWF office works independently and collaboratively. Think of us like a franchise. And we all share a common mission and brand identity. In the US, we have quite the reach. We have nearly 1 million members and a very strong social media presence and website visits, with over 8 million followers on social media and 55 million annual page views. What I specifically do is manage a fundraising program called WWF Gifts. And what is that exactly? Well, it's a website where people can donate and receive a thank you item. Our options range from $25 to $250. About half of those selections are for symbolic adoptions. So you pick your favorite animal, and you receive a plush version of that animal, an adoption certificate, a tote, fact card. The other half is apparel, so t-shirts, slippers, socks, and then other ways to give, like beach towels and totes and calendars. It's quite a valuable program. It's raised over $250 million since inception. And how we measure that is, of course, direct revenue, right? So most of it's direct revenue, and that's total unrestricted revenue. But there's other streams of revenue from this. So people give subsequent gifts to WWF through other channels. And finally, there's a lot of power in plush. Some people choose to leave us in their wills, and they were acquired by first getting a stuffed animal. So all of this is extremely fun and profitable and meaningful, but we've identified a major gap, and we want to close that gap. Our efforts have mostly to date been focused on mass marketing efforts, and we see lots of potential in really personalizing the member journey through CI 360 and Satisfy. Now I'm going to turn over to Lucas to talk more about that.
That's exactly right. So we created this personalized experience with a recommendation engine. That's what we'll be presenting today. One of the ways that we personalize. We're focused here on matching returning web visitors with species as a product of their past browsing history and that of other similar visitors. The system was built using SAS-Viya's machine learning capabilities and was deployed during our giving season. This is our most highly trafficked, the time of the year where we get the most web traffic on our site. The recommendations are presented at the bottom of the species page, and so at the top of this screenshot on the left side of the screen, we can see what we kind of have as our control. These are just popular items that we're surfacing on the website. And the image below, you can see the ring-tailed lemur is technically not a popular item, but the personalized recommendation allows it to surface to a user because it was recommended to them based on their previous web browsing history. The recommendations are powered by collaborative filtering, which analyzes visitor behavior and browsing history to surface these relevant species. During testing, we actively presented recommendations at the bottom of every species detail page. And you will see this slide a few times throughout the presentation. I'm just using it as a way to show you the individual steps of this project pipeline. So we'll start with the data collection event in CI 360. This is really the backbone of our data collection process. So here's how it works. If you've used CI 360 before, I'm sure you've created a custom event. We log species page views using custom CI 360 events, each tagged to a visitor identity. This gives us a clean training data set enriched by multiple viewing sessions across species. We also solved for merging complexities and cookie persistence, both essential for ensuring data quality, visitor trust, and continuity across our visits. Our cookie policy is presented for acknowledgement upon a first visit, and so as long as a visitor has clicked allow, we're able to present this personalized content to that person. It's important to note that we don't have any other information about our visitor. All we have is an identity ID given to us by SAS and the pages that the person viewed. So this table on the left just gives you a very simple look at two individual visitors. We have identity ID ABC123. I made that up. It's just for the purpose of this slide, and BCD234. So you can, again, this is literally our training data set. All it is an identity ID and the product that the person viewed. And so there's many species that a visitor can click or view, and so this just gives you a look at this is a scrolling page on the screenshot to the left. People can view, I don't know, 100 or more species.
Closer to 150 at this point.
Closer to 150 at this point. So there's a lot of choices of species, and so what we're collecting is any time a person clicks on one of those individual species. And of course, this person here clicked the great white shark. And so just to simplify it even further, just to kind of drive this home, this would be an example of one individual person, ABC123, again, only identity ID and the product that they viewed. That's the only data that we have going into our training data set. So at this time, take a mental note of this visitation because you have a raffle ticket. If you don't have a raffle ticket, raise your hand, someone will give you one. But you'll use this to try and test your knowledge of species against our recommender. So keep in mind that you're going to be making recommendations for a person who viewed these species. This is all part of the play, all part of the plan here. Nick, I think we need to tell the people a little bit about species. Let's tell them about this first one.
Sure. So if you're going to be at a WWF presentation, you got to leave here learning a little bit more about wildlife, of course. So Arctic foxes, you ever hear the expression clever as a fox? Well, mostly that comes from the fact that what foxes do is they'll trail polar bears, and after the polar bear has decimated his prey, the fox will swoop in and take the leftovers.
Keep that in mind as you start thinking about the recommendations. Okay, next step in our pipeline, it's time for the fun part, the machine learning workflow. It's time to build the model. SAS-Viya allowed us to build robust training pipeline. Here's what we used. We used AutoTune to optimize hyperparameters of our models in the Champion Challenger modeling competition. Within that Champion Challenger model competition, we used 4 models. We might have tossed in a kind of custom model that just to give it a good try. But the main contenders in the Champion Challenger model were RecDTOS, Bayesian Probabilistic Ranking, that's BPR, and K-nearest neighbors. We selected BPR as our champion model because it outperformed others in ranking, accuracy, and predictive value. And all of these models use an implicit feedback approach. And so that means we're treating page views as positive signals. That's implicit because they didn't necessarily say they enjoyed viewing that species, they just clicked it, and so we take it as a positive signal. And then we didn't toss in, important note here is that the model itself, the code that I'll show you in a minute, does this for us. It samples unviewed items by that visitor at random to use as negative signals. So we tested this against holdout data, and we are able to confirm that because the recommendations we try to align with what the user came back and actually viewed. So that's how we're actually checking in on our model to make sure it's doing what we expect it to do. And some VIA users here may have taken note of a sloppy flow screenshot that you just saw on your screen, a single flow populated with code nodes in that last slide. But here's a look at a more organized Champion Challenger competition, broken out into individual swim lanes. No matter how you choose to organize your code nodes, drag and drop tools, SAS VIA procedures sets allow for some very complex models to be built in just a few lines of code, and here are some of those procedures. So these are available to any These are available to any SAS VIA user. You can see it's not much code and a tremendous amount of work is being done. Again, this is what we're passing in our training data, just a identity ID and a species page. But if you are a SAS VIA user, you have these procedures available to you in something like SAS Studio too. And so you can see all of the code in between that proc rec engine. That's our auto-tuned hyperparameters. So we ran optimization, auto-tuning in our flow, and these were the outputs of those hyperparameters that we just plugged in there. Okay, time to take a little break from all that technical talk, and let's introduce the next species.
So axolotls. Who doesn't love axolotls? America certainly loves axolotls. 2 years ago, during the holiday season, they were our most popular symbolic adoptions after the elephant was #1 for 10 years. The cool thing about axolotls is, unlike frogs, right, which are tadpoles, and then they leave the water, grow up, lose their tail, axolotls never really grow up. They're forever young. So they stay aquatic, and yeah.
And are they cute? I think so.
I sure think so.
Okay, let's move on. Pipeline step number 3. This is the phase in which we're deploying the model that we worked so hard to build. So we've trained, optimized, and chosen our model. Now we need to deploy it on the data we collect each day. We separate the training flow from the deployment flow for flexibility. On the right of your screen, you can see the deployment pipeline. This is a screenshot from SAS Studio. Again, I'm using nothing but code nodes, but I have some work to do to use other things besides code nodes, but that's just my style for now. Because we have fresh data each time the pipeline runs, we actually retrain the model but keep the hyperparameters static. So in this way, the model is really acting as an unsupervised learning algorithm, and it can create fresh recommendations for a user at each run. Included in this flow are the creation of merge tags. That's really the information that we're going to need to merge in things like URLs, the creatives. We don't store images or links as assets in CI360. We're really just pulling from our hosted creatives with URLs. And lastly, we use an API call to connect our output data to CI360. We had to add in a little AI talk just to be on pace with everybody else here at this conference and the modern times. So the flexibility of SAS VIA and the ability to use Python code nodes within our SAS code nodes gives us the ability to connect to our with an API to our OpenAI LLM and do something very, very simple. So in this case, our original data collection process, it did not really decipher between apparel and species adoptions and a lot of the other things that we have on our site. So this is just a very, very simple run. Rather than going back in time and recollecting that data and changing the URLs and changing all of the stuff on the website, all we did here was we just flagged, we created a prompt that would flag anything that is an animal species, return a 1. If it's not, if it's anything else like socks, t-shirts, apparel, that type of thing, we would return to 0, and then we're only selecting the species adoptions to recommend. And the last thing in that screenshot that you may have noticed was the API node. This is really where we are sending our 3 recommended items per visitor to CI360. We're in our modeling phase, we're literally just marking 3 recommendations. That's all we want, but we could change that in the future if we wanted. We could recommend 4, 5, 6 items. I'm not sure if there's a max, but we could recommend more than 3. We could recommend less than 3. In our case, we're doing 3. And CI360, we create a custom table. So that's what you see circled in red there under the general settings in CI360. We're creating a custom table, which we are using the information for in our API call. And each night when this pipeline runs, it sends that data to CI360 and populates that table. I'm going to take a deep breath because that was a lot of technical talk. I think it's time to talk more now about nature.
Yes, very true. So everyone knows giant pandas. They live on the ground in China. But if you look into the skies, look to the trees, you will find red pandas living there, probably chomping on some bamboo, which the giant panda does. But besides the diet, honestly, they're completely different species.
Okay, back to the pipeline. We're at the point where we can surface these personalized recommendations, all this work that we've done to get to this point, and now we're really just talking about actually doing the thing, which is actually recommending species here. CI360 gives us the testing environment that we need to determine how our recommendations perform against a control or business as usual. And again, I pointed this out before, that's what you see in the top screenshot there, the control. These are like popular items, things that we thought, well, what should we recommend? Recommend the popular items, the ones that we know people really gravitate towards. We designed A/B experiments directly in the platform in CI360 to measure impact and refine the system. As noted before, this test ran during a high traffic season, and it's not currently being utilized on the site, though it is part of an email test happening in our CRM. I see a lot of you looking up our site so that you can get your personalized recommended items. Don't worry, we saw engagement lift with this test, but we think we can do better, and we plan to roll out some updates and put the recommender back on site in our next giving season. So come on back during the giving season, everybody. What you see here in the screenshot was just one of a few separate tests. In this case, a simple presentation of recommendations below the scroll, which you see as the test there. That was an HTML spot, so a very simple use case for our CI360 task, but we didn't just do HTML spots. We tested other types too, didn't we, Nick?
Sure did. So what I really love about CI360 is it's forced me to think about the website in terms of spots. So we have a powerful model behind our recommendation, and there's so many ways we could surface that recommendation. So in this case, we also tried a pop-in in the bottom left corner. So if you weren't familiar with the Przewalski's horse before, you will be now. And speaking of fun animals, the sea otters, they love their seafood. And they've been known to crack open the shellfish with rocks. How cool is that?
And I didn't know how to pronounce that horse's name, I'll be honest, until I heard you say
Przewalski's horse.
Przewalski's, thank you so much. Okay. Now, we are at the end of our pipeline, and we need to report out our results. So certainly we could stay in platform in CI360. We could use the Insights tab, as you see in the screenshot at the top there. And to do things like evaluate, the Insights tab allows us to evaluate our sample size, the metrics of performance, but many of our marketing team, they like to evaluate some custom statistics, custom metrics that they have in mind. We also need to layer on business logic a lot of the times, and so we can use SAS Visual Analytics for that. We layer on business logic, build custom dashboards, and track things like conversion rates, repeat giving, overall effectiveness, just those added things that our marketing team values that we can't necessarily do in the Insights tab. And so you see just a visual analytics screenshot there, very simple section of our dashboard. The point is that we have flexibility with our SaaS discovered data.
And one of the things I am most excited about leaving this conference with is the embedding of Copilot in CI360. So I will, of course, be working hand in hand with Lucas, but some of those queries can query the data set and get rid of outliers and such.
Yeah, we know the truth. You don't need me anymore. That's what you're trying to say. Okay. It's time for a little fun. Let's look at our example visitor here. So this is what I showed you before, same data. This is our training data. You've learned about these species. It's time to put your intuition to the test versus our model. Again, visitor ABC123. Let's take a poll. Well, these are the 4 items that they viewed. Okay, so I want you to think, I'm going to show you a screenshot. I'm going to show you a screen next which will have 6 species on it. Okay, keep in mind we recommend 3 items. Your first guess, we're going to take a poll. We want to know which of these you think is the first recommended item. So it floated to the top as the most high score, the highest score, and this is the number 1 recommended item. Okay, so here they are. Here are the species. 3 of them will be recommended, but what I'm asking you to do is I'm asking you to determine which one of these you think was the top recommended item. So we'll just do a simple poll with hands, okay? And you know how polls go. You don't have a lot of confidence, and so you raise your hand at like the 3rd item. Don't let that happen to you, okay? If you really think it is the blue-footed booby, vote for it, okay? So that's the first one. Hands raised for the blue-footed booby. Who thinks that's the number 1 recommended species? We have 1 vote. Very good. Brave. That's brave. Well done.
Love the Mel Robbins energy.
Well done. Okay. How about the sea hatchling turtles? Who thinks that was the number 1 rec? Okay, we got a couple more votes. Okay, very good. Oh. Pretend like that didn't happen. The number 1 recommended species, this clicker, was the leaf sheep. Okay, so sorry if you didn't get a chance to vote, but what you do have is you have a raffle ticket. Nick is going to select our first raffle ticket. You have the bag. Do you want to select the first raffle ticket? That would be great.
The leaf sheep is a sea slug. Definitely look up photos of it then. It looks like an alien. Fun fact, I was talking about how great the axolotl was before. Leaf sheep came in this past holiday season, dethroned the axolotl. This is number 1.
Okay, please. We're ready. 373-8029. Woo! Congratulations. The leaf sheep is yours. Connecting people with nature, that's what we do. All right, since I botched the first round, let's do a poll for the second most recommended species. So the leaf sheep obviously won out. It was the number 1. Raise your hand. Blue-footed booby. Not changing. Sticking, and you recruited 2 more. Well done. Sea hatchlings. Turtles. Okay, tiger. Arctic fox. Oh, wow. And are we going ostrich or emu? Ostrich?
We're going ostrich.
Ostrich. No votes for the ostrich. Okay. It was the tiger. It was the tiger. Congratulations to those who voted. Can we have another raffle ticket, please? All right. Raise your hand again if you won? Oh, you got it. Okay, great. Congratulations. Congratulations. The tiger is yours. And our last species, of course, recommended here, the blue-footed booby. The blue-footed booby, of course. 1 more, please. All right. The man in the blue shirt gets the blue-footed booby.
Perfect. Congratulations.
Thank you all so much for your participation. Thank you for your help passing out the raffle tickets. We really appreciate that, and calling out the raffle tickets. Thank you for that. I hope you were allowed to connect with nature for a brief moment. It really is something that is ingrained in us to connect with nature. And if you've never seen some of these species before, hopefully it just gave you a second where you really felt like you were connected to something outside of this air-conditioned conference building. And it's really, our usage of SAS allows us to personalize a web visitor's experience. And so we've mentioned a few times that we don't need anything. We're going to go back to marketing now. We don't need anything more than an anonymous ID for a few of these product views to get recommended. But there are times where we actually do know some information about these IDs. And so, this is because somebody on our website has filled out a form or given us a donation in the past. We can actually merge their ID with their email address or a phone number if they're subscribed to SMS, and we can actually recommend to them their species in other ways.
And the way I like to think about this as an email marketer is it really extends our ability to retarget. So prior to this, there was two main email types to retarget people. So of course there's cart abandonment. People filled out partial information at checkout and then left the website. In that case, we send them a very targeted email to that transaction offering technical support. I will caveat that there are stricter rules about this with GDPR. But really the bread and butter has been our broad appeals, and we will target anybody who opted in. In this example, we sent out an appeal for International Women's Day featuring hand-woven baskets from a women's co-op in Namibia. So there's those types of appeals, and then as Lucas mentioned, most of our revenue really comes during the holiday season, and the focus of those email appeals have been new and popular items. What I'm really excited about these models are that we can now do these recommended items, and that really allows us to retarget prior web visitors.
And so a key to this multi-channel approach is moving our data from SAS to our CRM, because we do not send our emails through SAS, we send it through a separate platform, our CRM. So with that movement of data brings a lot of additional layers of business logic, a lot of security, but ones that are well worth it. For future work, I mentioned earlier we have a few things in our roadmap. First, it would be adding predictive features. I said all we need is an identity ID and a product view, but we can draw on our SAS discovered data to improve the model with added predictive features, possibly predictive features, I should say, in browser type, time of day, location-based data points. It would be really fun to implement real-time scoring, so we could recommend items to a visitor in their session. Right now, the way our model works is a visitor must come back a second time on a separate day. And so obviously you lose a huge percentage of people because not everybody comes back, right? So real-time scoring would really boost the amount of people that we could reach. And then expanding multi-channel deployment, we've talked about a little bit, but of course we'd love to test new presentation formats. What else?
Yeah, and one thing I am really excited about is really building out journeys. So to get this deployed for holiday season, we did the bare minimum. We sent one email, and we really can just build out a more complex journey. We could do a nudge of maybe prior openers, and we can definitely test all the creative and everything. Like I said, we did the bare minimum to get out the door, and now that all the infrastructure is in place, we're looking forward to really getting creative.
And so while there may be a lot of traditional marketing tactics involved here in this recommendation use case, the ultimate goal for us is really to raise the funds necessary for us to reach our conservation goals around the world. And so we can connect people with nature through these personalized recommendation experiences. And finding a match between the person and the species, it allows us to do both of those things. We're connecting people with nature, we're allowing them to see things that they otherwise wouldn't have seen, being species like the leaf sheep. We're able to, hopefully, if we effectively present them the item that really appeals to them, we're also able to get a donation and raise the funds necessary to do conservation around the world.
Yeah, so we'll leave you with this. In conservation, much like your industries, there's always more to do. In our case, this recommendation step is just one step towards smarter, more personalized engagement, and most importantly, it allows us to connect people with nature one recommendation at a time. Thanks to the power of SaaS Viya, CI360s, and all our friends in the data analytics department and my marketing colleagues. Thank you for your time today. Now, if we have time, we would be happy to take some questions.
I was interested in how you use the web A/B testing with your recommendations. So if you've got 3 recommendations each time, where's the relevance of that task?
Yes, good question. So really the A/B test comes into play of the control there is we always default to promoting the most popular items historically. So really the A/B test was most popular items over a period of time, might have been like the past year, versus these custom recommendations at the individual level.
Cool. So it's the recommendations versus the control, and that you're working
Yeah,
out.
that's
Cool.
exactly
Makes
right. It's basically just a 50-50 split. We didn't, for this first phase, we didn't care if they selected the third, the second, the first. It was just, did they, was there lift amongst the population that saw personalized recommendations? Did all of this work mean anything? Did they do better if they saw that personalized rec as opposed to the popular items?
Thank you.
Yeah, in the future, that's a great question. In the future, you know, we would like to test, is the third recommended item clicked less than the first, that type of thing. So that's in the future roadmap too. Any other questions? Well, we're happy to talk about it more at any point. We hope we were able to connect you with nature a little bit, and thanks so much for coming. Really appreciate it, everybody.